And welcome back to 8-Bit Versus.
Hello, Martin. How are you?
I'm very well. How are you doing yourself?
Very good. Looking forward to beating and slashing and whatever it is you do in this video game depicted over here.
So, yes, this is my choice tonight. And, well, I say my choice. This was the result of the poll we did over Christmas. So I selected four games that people had been suggesting for the Commodore 64.
What were the other three out of interest that lost out to
Crazy Comets.
Game? Never heard of it.
That's great. What were the other two? Gosh, I can't remember. Yeah, but two other. They were all good. I was not surprised this one won. To be fair,
they were all bangers, were they? But this one was.
There were three really good ones, certainly. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And this I remember definitely. I remember because of all the press and everything around it. But I don't think I played it much, if at all. So this is going to be pretty much completely new to me. So
okay. Well, as we can see, this evening's game is Barbarian, the Ultimate Warrior. This was developed for the Commodore 64 first, and then all of the other platforms, and quite literally all the other platforms followed shortly thereafter, including what were the then emerging 16-bit platforms, so the ST and the Amiga and all the rest of it. And this game was developed... Go on.
But we're not going to play those. We're going to play the Commodore.
No, we're playing the Commodore version, because this is my choice. So you get to play the Commodore version first, and once we've played that for a bit and swung our swords around, we'll then load it up on the Spectrum 128 and go through it again there and see how the gameplay compares.
Sweet. Should we get the tapes loaded?
If you get a tape ready, we'll get that loaded up, and we'll talk about it a bit more as you practice.
Yep.
Okay, so we have that loaded up your end. Which mode did you choose when you loaded it?
So it asked me one or two, demo or full game or something like that. And I chose the first one.
Yeah, so there's like not two versions of the game, but there's a version of the game where you can simply practice, where you can learn what the different moves are and get acquainted with how to play the game. And then there's like an actual game where you have to progress through some levels past increasingly more difficult opponents in order to defeat the evil, I think it's a wizard called Drex. I think that's who we're ultimately fighting against here.
I remember seeing the little, whatever that creature is, drag the body off.
Sort of a dungeon goblin, I think I remember him being described as. So, if you want to, get this started, anyone that's familiar with this
I don't even
game,
know how to do that.
Whack a fire button. Yep.
Does that work? Yes.
So,
that says two player.
Press number 1, maybe. Oh, actually, and it's not number 1. That was a lie. To select one player, just press F1 and you should be able to toggle that. There we go.
Oh, yeah, that toggles.
There we go.
Sweet. Now what? Oh, there we are. Which one's me?
Not without the pink vest. You just got whacked. So, I'll just explain. Yeah, so that if you don't do anything, it will...
This is not working. I think it's
swap your joystick ports.
Yeah, I'll try that. Nope. Oh, yeah. Oh. I am getting roundly beaten up here.
Yeah. Are you in control of your figure yet?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, it's somewhat difficult given I had the shit kicked out of me while I was standing there.
Is it at least accepting inputs? Because if it is, I will start to explain what's going on here. Right. Okay. So it's your usual sort of beat 'em up moves, right? You know, you can move in all 8 directions with the joystick, and that will give you
Oh, let's go on to demo mode.
defensive moves. So press F5 to start the game.
F5? I've pressed F5.
Oh, F5. Oh, sorry. F5.
Sorry?
Oh,
I
that was a
don't
lie.
think you mean F5.
1 or 2. F1, I guess.
F1.
There we
That
go.
says 2 player. That says 1
One player. There we go.
And then how do you actually start the game?
Fire button, I think.
Okay. And so then I walk onto screen.
Or is it F5
I
to
don't
start?
think-
F5 to start the game. Now you've selected 1 player.
Really?
I think so. No?
No, F5 is doing nothing. I think it's the wrong... Yeah, it's the wrong joystick.
Oh, right.
You have to, like... Hang on. No, that's doing nothing on that joystick. But on the other... Oh, it's weird. You have to start it with 1 joystick.
Oh.
And then move with the other.
Maybe Enter
Really
starts
weird.
it as well. Are you in control of your fighter?
Yeah, but I'm getting the shit kicked out of me again.
Okay, so kneel down, pull down on the joystick. That's a lower position. There we
Yeah.
go. And then if you pull diagonally down towards them, that will roll into them and trip them up. That's a good defensive maneuver. It's best to stay low because in this game you can decapitate your opponent. So whilst if you were to press fire, be in a standing position, press fire and pull away from your opponent, it will sort of do a roundhouse swing. There we go.
Oh, that thing.
Yeah. And then some of the other moves. So you've got kneel. If you push up, it'll jump. So that will avoid, low swings. You walk left and right. You can roll backwards and forwards.
It's too much information.
Yeah.
It's too much information. Let me try walking around first. I can't take in.
You will also see
how I move.
the 2 snakes and the red dots above the snakes. Those represent the hits that you can take.
This is weird.
Enter or space?
Nope, enter space doesn't do it.
Oh.
I've pressed F1. F5.
F5 pauses, so make sure it's
F5 pauses what?
the game.
Yeah, doesn't do anything. I have to switch joysticks and then start walking in and then switch joysticks again.
Interesting.
It's a bit weird. Ooh. Audio. There's music stopped.
Yeah, I don't think it plays the music in game.
Oh, I thought we were hearing it earlier. Oh my gosh. So...
Oh, F3 turns the music sound on and off, apparently.
Oh yeah, that was it. You're right. Right, so I can chop at him.
Yes.
Oh man. Sort of a neck height.
And the red bars represent the health of each opponent, and you're losing at the moment. You have 3 left, and he has...
No way. I'm losing.
Yeah, you're
This
catching
guy in
up.
a pink shirt who's beating the crap out of me.
Catching up.
I need more defensive. Give me one defensive move.
Okay, so...
Oh.
Just holding the joystick and pressing fire should do a defensive.
Does nothing.
Okay. Or push diagonally up towards him just without fire, and that should do a high block.
Gosh. Right, let's try again. Tell you what, these controls are a bit wacky.
Also, if you
One
turn the
player.
music off, you'll get the sound effects, and they're a little bit more helpful.
Okay.
Good one.
Oh,
Well done. Oh. Nice. So,
what was the roll thing? It was roll.
yeah,
Like that.
roll into them. Yeah. One strategy I saw people use was to roll them into their own corner, and then when they were sort of trapped there, then try and unleash some moves. Now, anyone that watched action films in the 1980s will notice that these characters look a lot like Conan the Barbarian, and this game was, inspired
Do they
by
really?
that film. I think they do. I think
the character. I think the character on the cover of the tape. I think you're taking some artistic license to say that this guy looks like Conan the Barbarian.
Headband, muscly guy in leotard shorts. I mean, boots, sword.
Maybe.
Very definitely Conan the Barbarian.
Okay.
And
I have to say, I don't remember seeing that film recently. So
right, okay. So Steve Brown was the designer for this game, and he was well known for the Cauldron series of games.
I remember Cauldron.
Yeah, yes. Cauldron and Cauldron 2. And because they were so successful, he was sort of given effectively free license to create a game that he wanted to make. So being a fan of the films, he created this. And these animations, the character animations in the game, he practiced copying moves from the film using a wooden broom handle as a proxy sword, and that was recorded.
You're going to tell me he rotoscoped himself?
No. This is like proto rotoscoping. So he had himself filmed doing these moves, and then artists played that back with tracing paper over the screen and traced out his outlines in order to use that as a template to create the graphics. So at the time, the graphics in this game, particularly the animations, were sort of quite above, what we'd seen before, because they were quite realistic.
I have to say, I am not doing very well here, and this is partly because I have an innate hatred of fighting games. I never liked them.
Okay.
I never got on with them. My brain can't hold all of those moves in my head at once. Like, I've got up, down, left, right, fire. That's 5 things I can do. Like pressing a ton of buttons in order to do a whole bunch of different moves is just my brain can't do that.
So I've got some, whilst you have another practice round, I've got some questions to address in the chat. So welcoming back to Retro Gaming Denmark and McPhail and Tux Moramus. And then we have Ross Madness in the chat, and he was asking, are we playing this on actual hardware or is this emulated? And McPhail has pointed out that we're using an emulator. We're using Vice for this. And the reason for that is that Alan and I are not in the same location. We're each in our own homes. So we're
about 20 miles away or something.
Yeah,
like that.
something like that.
It's not far.
But the
UHF cable doesn't stretch that.
So in order for me to be able to see in real time what Alan's doing, we have some magic at the back end so that we can watch each other's gameplay. You're doing better this time. Just got smashed in the face the one time.
I'm doing the same move every time. And
yeah. Yes, and if it matters, we're fully paid up Linux nerds, and we're doing this all on Linux.
Oh man.
I thought you'd be more impressed with the copious amounts of brown in this game. I know you're a huge fan of, the brown colour palette on the Commodore 64.
I'll tell you what. I'll take a look at the vistas when you're playing.
Okay.
Because right now I'm playing.
You're about to.
I don't have time to look at backgrounds. But yeah, you're right. There is a beautiful scenery of brown.
Yeah.
Is it a quarry or something?
It's the wastelands or something like that.
It's a quarry.
So advice from the viewers is you need to do more swordy things and less rolly things.
Less rolling, more
swording. Yeah, that's the
sword
advice.
blow to the chest. Okay. I am dangerously close to saying screw this game, it's a bag of crap.
Well, this is just practice mode. You haven't actually attempted to...
I know, right? That's... Swordy thing. Come on. Oh, you bastard. There we go. Another swordy thing.
Oh, right. Okay. So welcome, Ross. Glad you found us through Jupiter Broadcasting. Yes. Unsurprising
Hello,
then that we're doing this on Linux. It's Hyberon, apparently, this background where Conan lives. See, told you it was based on
Hyberon. That's the name of the place, is it?
This is what Retro Gaming Denmark is telling us.
Right about to throw this out the window.
Right.
This is
Well, I tell you what,
fun.
if you're about to rage quit, let's at least drag you into the arena for a real fight. Yeah?
God. Yeah, I'm fully prepared. I'm well trained.
You look ready. I think you're ready for this. So,
all right,
we'll get that loaded up.
Reload the game, won't I, for that?
You will very quickly, yeah. Oh, I need to just press the right buttons at the right. Right then, so here we are. Now we're in Drex's palace, I assume. Drex being
I've completed my extensive training.
Yes. You have walked out of the Hyberon wastelands fully prepared for battle, is where you are right now. Yes. Yeah. Anyway, you will notice the lovely young lady there. That is Princess Mariana.
Where am I looking for this lovely young lady?
Get over
Where
yourself.
am I looking for that?
Get over yourself. Anyway, this game, this was apparently 1987's most controversial game, not least because it was possible to decapitate your opponents with a well-timed swing of the sword, but also because when the game was marketed, Maria Whittaker, who was a page 3 model for The Sun, was hired for the cover artwork, which also caused a bit of a stir, being somewhat scantily clad. And Michael Van Wyck, I think his name was. Michael Van Wyck was the bodybuilder who was also in the cover artwork, and he went on to become Wolf in the ITV series Gladiators in the UK some years later. So, as you can see, as you get hit there, red blood spurts out. The Germans weren't a fan of that, so this game was banned in Germany, but was re-allowed. Completely banned in Germany, but was re-allowed for sale when they changed the blood to green. Apparently that was fine.
Oh, and it's then fantasy blood, not real
I
blood.
don't know.
Tell you what, I fucking hate this game. Absolutely hate it. There is no way on God's green earth you will get me playing this game ever again.
Well, you have to play it again later on the Spectrum.
It might be better on the Spectrum, I don't know.
So this was a highly acclaimed game. It won all sorts of awards and all the plaudits, and your assessment is you hate it.
To be honest, you could have put any fighting game on here, and I would have hated it just as much.
Okay.
I think they're all shit. I cannot abide fighting games. Cannot abide them.
I see a lot of rage and frustration in your future because I've got quite a lot of fighting games on my list. I mean, you do remember the 1980s. It was boxing, karate, ninjas. The games landscape was littered with fighting games. And I intend to play all of them, and therefore, so are you.
Well, it was lovely playing this stream, 8-bit versus, but it will not be continuing if that's happening.
So on that shocker, apparently I'm looking for a stand-in when we do fighting games.
Oh my god.
Okay.
I don't know what it is. I think there's something about that whole left, right, up, down, like the AA, back, right, up. And I know that this is nowhere near as complicated as like Street Fighter with 6 buttons.
Yeah.
But it's still, to my mind, this is infuriating. I just can't play it.
Okay.
And you might say, well, have a bit more practice and, you know, try a bit harder and stuff. But I don't enjoy it. That's the problem.
Right.
It's not an enjoyable game. That's the problem.
Yes, McPhail, you were right. Way of the Exploding Fist was terrific. That is on my list. That's something I will look forward to torturing Alan with in the future.
That I did like. And the reason I liked Way of the Exploding Fist is I'm going to trigger you now. Get ready to mute your microphone. I used the keyboard when I played Way of the Exploding Fist, and it had a different key for each of the moves.
You are so
wrong. It wasn't
wrong.
Up, right, fire and stuff. It was actually logical. You press diagonally up on the keyboard and it would kick up. Press logically down and he would do a low kick.
It was exactly actually easier to joystick, play. Though. Easier to play. You fucking animal with your keyboard controls, honestly. Right, is that
go?
Yeah, well, yes, and M Fox Dog, International Karate and International Karate Plus, absolutely on my list. IK Plus is one of my all-time favourites. We're definitely going to go there. I'm going to make Alan suffer through that one. Maybe do a 24-hour charity stream of International Karate Plus, or just all the fighting games. I don't know. Doesn't look like that's going to happen. Okay, I tell you what. Let me load up the game here and I'll have a go. I haven't played this for 30 odd years either, so I don't know if I'm going to be any cop at this, but we'll
show me how it's done, Martin. Show me like all the killer moves.
Okay. Okay, I've loaded it up now, he says. One moment.
Yeah. Are you having the...
Okay, right. We understand what went wrong there. So, I've got this loaded up. This is in demo mode again, or training mode. You know, fight to the death mode, practice mode.
But I don't think you need training, do you? Because you're clearly an expert at this thing.
I don't know about that. Let's press F1 and just see if we...
Oh, look, pressing F1 doesn't work.
There it does. This is going to be tricky. I don't actually have another joystick plugged in at the moment.
No, you do Alt J, and then press the button, and then Alt J again, and yep.
That's toggling.
What is? So I pressed F1, and then Alt J, and then walked in, and then Alt J again, and then start wandering onto screen. I don't know. Is it F5 for you? Maybe it works for you. I don't know. This is an awesome game, everyone. I highly recommend everyone tries out Barbarian, the ultimate warrior.
Oh, I tell you what, problem.
Earliest opportunity. You haven't plugged the joystick in, have you?
It might help. Let's try that, shall we? Oh, bother.
What's up?
Right, I'm just going to load it into fighting game mode, and we'll come back to it when I've got both the joysticks plugged in.
We'll be right back.
We will be right back, apparently. Right, okay, we're back in business, I think. Let's hope so, at any rate. Let's,
You know what I've just realised? It
is F7.
There we go. Ha! Documentation is wrong. So, what I've realised while we've been doing these streams is I'm facing the wrong way.
What do you mean?
To reverse. Well, I'm looking off camera at the bottom left-hand corner of the display.
Right.
So it kind of looks like I'm looking away from the game. Just realised maybe we should change that so I'm like flipped or something.
Oh, okay.
I'll look the other way.
I can.
No,
I can do that actually. I can.
The other way, that way.
I can. I can flip you in software, I guess.
Yeah. No, because then you'll get my wrong. No, Anyway, so you've managed to get into the game.
Yeah.
And you've got this sweeping. What's that? Waving your sword around move called?
That's the Web of Death, I think. It's called something like that. It's
right. That is not listed in the documentation. So I did actually look at the documentation and look at the list of moves. Which I think the flaw here is, I think maybe I could get used to it if I had a lot more practice. I think
Oh, he's just out of reach. That's so annoying. Oh. Now those. What do you think of those sound effects? The little clashing of.
I can't hear them over the sound of your joystick.
I have no quiet joysticks. I have got another joystick on the way that may remedy the noise of joysticks problem.
Kidding. Yes, I heard the ching sound, and it did sound like there were two different tones of.
Yeah, I think the metal clink. Also, I think the sort of swishing of the swords through the air is quite good as well. Oh.
There's a swooshing of the. Okay. Oh yeah. Yeah, I heard that. So the what's the significance of the snakes doing the?
So I think the snakes sort of move when you strike a hit on their warrior.
Ah, yes, you're right.
Yep.
Yep.
And that also takes the health bar down. So there are 12 half circles of health there. So different levels of Oh man.
And are the characters that you fight, are they go in increasing level of difficulty, I imagine?
Yeah, they get more tricky to defeat over time. Oh, fiddle.
And is it always this background with him and his lady woman sitting on the step?
Well, I can't actually remember. There are different backgrounds, but I don't remember if they were in this game or in the training mode.
Yes, it's been spotted by New Bogard.
Yes,
Hello, New Bogard.
I am victorious.
Okay, that we have a scantily clad lady in the display. It was a thing, wasn't it? I remember there were a few games around like this time where the magazine advertising was very much targeted at the prepubescent boy.
Yes.
Or, anyone who'd be turned on. Oh look, we've got a different arena. We've gone downstairs.
We have got a different arena. Yes, we're in a different spot. Oh, look out for those.
I like the way they've rendered her belly button with a single pixel. I like that. That's quite good.
So, oh boy, this is tough.
Which means her belly button is the same size as her eyeball, which is a bit weird.
I know, always the critic. I don't know.
No. I'm a little bit disappointed that the flames on each side don't flicker. I would have expected that. Hey ho.
Ah.
It's doing the trick we've seen in a few games so
Yes,
far,
victorious again.
All the movement is in the 1/3 of the screen, and you've got a static middle third of the screen, which is the characters, and then a static top third of the screen. So really, there's only any movement in 1/3 of the screen.
So it may not look like it, but there's a lot going on here because these sprites are way bigger than a sprite for a Commodore 64. So this was one of the examples of sprite multiplexing on the 64 where multiple sprites are actually used to make up the characters. Okay, this guy's a bit more tricky.
But technically there are only 2 sprites. I mean, there's more than 2 sprites on screen, but there's only 2 moving...
2 characters, yeah.
2 characters on screen at once, so it's not like you've got lots
of... Oh, check out our
synchronization.
Oh, nuts.
Are you actually playing? This looks like a demo.
Oh, it is a demo. How's that possible?
This is like when I give my controller to my 5-year-old nephew and pretend like he's playing and it's not actually plugged in. That's epic. I love that. Oh, you're doing so well, Martin.
I was doing well. At what point did I stop playing?
Can I please request that someone in the audience clips that bit out? Because that's the best bit.
Aimed, please. And that bit.
Oh, there we go.
That's
clip that bit out as
I do believe we call that the money shot in the business. And talking of the money shot, you were talking about the advertising tactics that were used. I think the game that came, I think this is the second game that used, I think the colloquial term is a top-heavy lovely in the marketing material, was Vixen.
Was the other one? Oh, okay.
That was the first one that I remember.
The one I remember is Army Moves.
Oh, really?
I don't think it was a photo. I think it was a picture with, the female character had a scantily top covering on.
Right.
Ross has got a choice quote, therefore. Look at how good I'm doing.
Thank you very much. I hate you all.
At least Vixen used the female character in the game itself.
This is true. Okay.
There? Oh, yes, it was. Vixen was the character.
Yes. I never played it. I mean, I remember the adverts. Was that bigger on the Spectrum than it was on the 64? Because I'm pretty sure I remember mostly seeing that in my mate's Crash magazines.
I'd have to go back and look at it. I don't remember. But the Army Moves one, I have a sneaking, vague memory that the Army Moves magazine advert had a bit more showing than it should. And I think
really?
in a later publication, I think they either put like a, sticker over the top of it. Not a sticker, but a printed like sticker emblem over the top of it. Or they did some modification to her breast so that it didn't look quite so salacious.
I see. Yeah, actually, now you say that, that does sound familiar, that story.
And Army Moves would be on my list of a game to play.
I don't remember it by title. What was the point of that game?
It's a horizontal like car driving along with weapons that you could fire. A bit like what's that Neo Geo game everyone raves about with the car? Metal Slug. I think it was like a 8-bit rip-off of Metal Slug, that kind of thing.
There we go.
Oh, Retro Gaming Denmark says, fun fact, some guy ported all the 8-bit Barbarian games to many consoles, both old and modern.
Oh! So,
another headshot.
I discovered a guy who recreated Barbarian on PC for Windows, Mac and Linux, and used the graphics from the Amiga version to recreate it. I didn't try it, but it was one of the things I discovered whilst I was looking for... 2 for 2!
There's no blood in this. I've not seen much... There was a bit spurt.
That's it. I mean, you get blood smacks when, you make contact, and a little bit of blood from the neck when you strike their head off. It's not all that... I
think the magazine reviews made a big point about that little goblin kicking the head off the screen. That was gratuitous and unnecessary.
He became kind of a cult game character figure in his own right. It has a bigger role in the sequel. Come on now. Anyway, I haven't completely lost it. I'm not doing brilliantly, but I'm on level 3. I think there's 6 levels in this game.
How can you tell what level you're on?
I just remember. Oh, is the 2 at the top there the indication of the level?
Could be.
Oh dear. I'm in a bad place. I don't want to be here.
I think what works with these games is you get that muscle memory of block, attack, duck, jump, roll, all of those moves, and you get to remember where they are. And whenever I watch someone playing something like Street Fighter, you can see they just know all the power moves. They know which combos to do together. And I think it's no different even with these simple versions of these games.
Yeah, I mean, I have to say I don't remember all of the moves, but I remember enough of them that I can...
be dangerous.
Yeah, I'm making progress. And he says as he dies.
He says.
So, yeah, I'm still enjoying this. I quite like this game. It's quite simple fun. I always enjoyed fighters. So, I can see that you're champing at the bit here to load this on the Spectrum and enjoy it.
I'm looking forward to playing this on God's own controller, the rubber key.
Oh, are you seriously going to play it on the keyboard?
Probably not, though. But then at least I can blame the keyboard for my poor performance.
Well, is that not the the standard problem with playing on the keyboard? Right. Okay then. Well, let's get this loaded on the Spectrum really quickly, which fortunately doesn't take very long at all. Oh,
It's exactly the same. There's no difference.
I think that may be a lie.
It does have that kind of like yieldy music to it.
Actually, we're going to do something here. We're just going to invoke some hammer time. Something's off. A little off.
Okay.
Okay, hopefully that should all sound a bit better for everyone watching the live stream. Sorry about that.
Oh, it sounds glorious. The music is glorious.
Well, no.
And
it
Cheese has pointed out the snakes don't have the same amount of twists. That's true. It's not quite the same, is it?
Interesting.
They had like 4 twists rather than just the 3 twists.
They're also in the classic, cyan, green and red there. Right, can you do something to make this awful sound stop?
I'm enjoying it. The Commodore version, the snakes were obviously genuine coloured snakes, which normally swirl up poles. What do I do? Press 1, I guess. I have honestly never played this game.
As was evident from the arse kicking you got when you played it on the Commodore 64 earlier. Right.
I think I want a Kempston joystick. Let's go for a Kempston.
I think that's wise.
1 player.
Okay.
Oh, I should have pressed 0. Hang on. Kempston. There we go.
Excuse me. Right, welcome back, Cheese. Oh my goodness, this could not be more...
What?
Okay, you have fewer health bars as well. And
Jesus.
That whoop noise isn't doing it for me.
Holy cow. Get over. He's got a different costume on than on the...
oh, McPhail, it's a lot faster. Look at it. It's a lot more magenta.
Did someone drop the cassette in some Kool-Aid as being asked?
A lot faster. This is
glorious.
the only argument you get from the Spectrum fanboys is, oh, look, it's got a faster CPU, which technically isn't faster because of the way instructions per clock work. Better AI, Retro Gaming Denmark. All the Spectrum nutters are coming out the woodwork now. Much more detailed
Oh, they're
sprites.
nutters, are they? I think you'll find they're enthusiastic. They're fans.
Enthusiastic
they're fans
nutters.
and enthusists. Dear me.
They're a lot more
Can't take
detailed.
a little bit of light.
But no skin tones, no colour. Are way better. Really?
Skin tones.
Okay.
I'm making better progress on this.
Are you?
Oh, bugger.
Doesn't look like it. Just took a sword to the chest in midair there.
I am literally in the embodiment of pressing random buttons right now.
Yeah, I seem to remember this is how you play fighting games. You just sort of mash the directions and buttons in the hope that some...
one of them will result in some kind of connection between the sword and his face, which doesn't happen.
So, Cheese, when you say this is painful, are you referring to the beating that Popey is getting, or the game?
Yeah, I'm keen to know. It's a apocalyptic view there, isn't it? It's really like
It's literally on another planet.
Oh, it is supposed to be on another planet, is it? Okay.
Oh, right, okay. But this is popular among our sample of a single toddler who is attracted by the colours. But Cheese Bacon is now seeking out an optometrist to check the health of his retinas, which, yes.
Those moves, that's not fair. Look, it's like, wood. How the hell am I supposed to react to that?
This... You have less health. The sound is terrible.
It's certainly faster, though.
In a distant planet. It's not supposed to be a distant planet, Fail. This is supposed to be, the Dark Ages on this planet.
Oh, is it? Oh.
Well.
Were there snakes that would stay coiled and...
Yeah, I think that's,
didn't...
anacondas, they would have been, bigger and free.
Oh, and they're well trained, are they? Is there some kind of snake training system that goes on in the Dark Ages?
In the times of, might and magic, wizards would have controlled these snakes in order to have them hold these poses.
Could that wizard magic me up a potion to kill this guy rather than... Jesus Christ.
It does look like John Carter. It does look like John Carter. That's a good observation. But it's not supposed to be.
Oh, damn it.
Richmond Mike says the C64 version was a direct port using bitmap instead of sprites, which is why it's slow. I thought the very first version of Barbarian was developed on the Commodore 64 and all other system versions followed. And
this was the fact that you said at the beginning.
Yeah,
of the
and
show,
I'm pretty sure it did use sprites. It was one of the first games to use sprite multiplexing in order to have the larger character sprites.
Are you being fact checked right now?
I don't mind if somebody fact checks me. I think think what I remember.
Gaming
but
fact check service.
Yeah, but by all means, we've got. I mean, Richmond Mike is a modern day C64 developer, so he's telling me there were no hardware sprites at all in the C64 version. So, okay.
Whoa!
Now you got to do it all backwards, which shouldn't make any difference to you because you're really just mashing things in a random order.
This game is shit. I have decided.
So another Commodore 64 developer, Shalan50K, apparently has put this game through a debugger on the Commodore 64, and that is how they know that it is not using sprites on the C64, but using bitmap mode.
Wow. Interesting. Do you want to have a go? Have you got your sunglasses?
God, this is terrible. Okay. Right, this is the bit that I don't look forward to. This is where I have to try it on the Spectrum, so I'll get that one loaded up. It doesn't take long. Right, I've got this atrocity loaded on the Spectrum. One player. Kempston, I guess. Start a one-player game. Right.
So does this not have the Spectrum version? Not have the demo one, the like learning level?
Yeah, you can choose demo mode at that opening, the very opening thing. Oh, right, I have to pay attention, don't I? Oh.
I've noticed a couple of things about the snakes. They've very nicely curled the tails round to avoid the Spectrum color clash. It's something I've noticed a lot of games do. They use a stipple effect and like taper a piece of graphic that in one color into an area where there's another color. There's a few games that have done that, and it works quite well to overcome the limitations in the graphics hardware.
So this was very definitely, this was released 1987, and by that point, we're 5 years into the lifetime of both the 64 and the Speccy at that point, and games developers were getting wise to what they could do to minimize the effect of color clash on the on the Spectrum, and there were new tricks being developed on the 64. Some games using what were the borders for game status information. We saw that with Delta, and there are a few others that do it even better, so you maximize your playing earlier. Oh goodness, McPhail, will you stop banging on about slow motion and speed? I tell you, you're like a one-trick pony on that.
Wow, a slow motion ballet. Yes. This is gladiatorial. Yes. Also, I like the fact that the other guy has a hat on, or a mask, should we say? So you is this demo? Is this training mode? Because where's the
Did I not get it?
The dude and the woman.
I think this is the game. I think the way it works on the Spectrum is it uses the training landscapes as like progression through.
First. Right.
Yes, right. Okay, I've beaten my first opponent. This is quite different. So now we're in the forest glade.
The character graphic, I quite like that. Muscular dude kind of thing, and he reminds me in this of the graphic of the man in Ternanog and Dundarak. I don't know if you've ever played either of those games.
No. Oh.
I think we might have to dig out Ternanog for a long stream, although I've probably mispronounced.
What sort of game is that? Is that an action game or an adventure game?
Oh gosh, it's a kind of
oh, damn it.
I don't know what you'd call it, really.
I think we're going to have to go for some boring tactics
walking simulator, maybe.
Okay.
It's an interesting. What would you call it? Adventure. Yeah, kind of a graphical walking adventure thing. There's puzzles to solve,
thrilling.
and people to see, and characters to talk to, and quests, and all that kind of stuff. But it has quite large, relatively large, what you might call sprites. On whatever platform it's on, and the character looks very much like that guy, but with a lot more animation, a lot more fluid animation. So, is there blood in the Spectrum version? I mean, there's
little red hits as you make contact.
Yeah, as you get him.
I don't know if
the splurge of red when the head comes.
I imagine so. I mean,
go on, then have another go.
Well,
get his head off. Go on, do it, Martin.
To order. At least I actually know what the control is to actually try and pull that one off. Oh, that was close. Oh dear, I'm dead. Oh no, I've got half a life. So,
ooh. I also like the background of this one is quite a dense forest scene with beautiful leafy trees and a beautiful blue, slightly cloudy sky in the background.
I love how you Spectrum owners, you really pull on your imagination to fill in the colour gaps that exist in these games. Right, okay, I'm gonna have another go at that. Let's see if we can find out if
McPhail also points out something about this. No scantily clad ladies so far. So
yeah, probably not enough.
This was the less sexist version.
Probably not enough memory for the scantily clad ladies. I think that's probably what.
Well, surely a bra doesn't take up that much room.
It is a small bra.
It's quite a small one, and a single pixel for the belly button.
Yeah.
Yes, ancient yellow tree forests. Cheese mentions this to me is like I think what they're trying to go for here is that moment at dusk when the sun is just going down and you get that haze, that kind of purple, orange haze covering the landscape. And these guys are fighting. It's the end of the day and they're very tired. And the sun is going down and they're using the last light of the day. That's why it's quite dark. You can tell it's really dark. They're using the final light of the sun. As
you're, using all of your best flowery prose to paint, quite literally paint a picture with words there, I would draw your attention to, originally we played this on the Commodore 64, and what this is a bad depiction of the scene that we had in the training level on the Commodore 64. So, for all of your fancy words, this is actually a terrible rendition of the scene that we saw earlier.
Well, on the Commodore, it looked like it was supposed to be like a quarry with a volcano in the background.
Right.
Which I just can't get in my head. I can't get a quarry and a volcano, and that two men would go and fight near a volcano in a quarry. It doesn't. Whereas this, where it's towards the final light of the day, and they've really got to fight to the death. That tugs at me because I feel for these guys. They're really battling it out.
This is a pink quarry.
Well, it's the light as the sun goes down. You get that orange, purple haze in the clouds above. It's very beautiful. You should go outside sometimes, Martin.
It doesn't look like this. So the day it starts looking like this, I'm seeking medical attention.
This is apparently a Kool-Aid quarry. the Kool-Aid Mountains, where they mined all of that Kool-Aid powder and then put it into little sachets and sold it in the shops.
How come this guy's got no health and I've hit him twice now and he's still not dead? I am very suspicious of the...
Oh, Martin. Actually, it looks like you do have the same amount of hits as on the Commodore, but it takes 2 hits to get rid of half a circle. I think you got hit twice before the half circle that you had went away. So I think you do get the same 12.
But he had no circles, and he was still. Yeah, I hit him 2 more times. Maybe he had
half an invisible life force left. Oh, that was a good shot. Well done. Oh, and again, bop him on the head. That whole from the waist thing is a bit casual, isn't it? That move there that he does, where he's leans back, swipes you sideways with a sword. A little bit too casual. He's not really taking this fight seriously, is he?
Do you not think? It feels like he's taking it quite seriously from my point of view.
Well, sorry, I'm distracted by the gorgeous trees in the background.
Oh, the trees. Just look at it.
Individually.
My daughter's been able to draw better trees than that since she was 3.
Not with yellow and green, she hasn't.
You know what? I'm gonna give my daughter yellow and green crayons tomorrow and see what she can produce.
Take away all your daughter's brown and then see what she comes up with.
You and your brown envy. If only there was some brown. These trees could have brown tree trunks, but no, it was deemed that was an unnecessary colour. Natural colour tones were clearly of no use to game developers.
I think it was long known that the Spectrum was never designed as a
I've just been decapitated.
I didn't see any blood.
Did we see any blood? I was too disappointed to notice.
I didn't see it. Oh.
Well.
Well, also,
yep.
Mr. Fox Dog says one thing I'm not seeing. Colour clash. No colour clash there.
That's all one bloody colour.
No, there was green, there was magenta, there was yellow, there was red, there was all of the colours. There are no more colours. It was all of the colours.
As we observed earlier, the actual play area is, kind of limited to, a third of the screen, and that is, in this case, all magenta and black. I mean, there is no colour clash because this is basically a monochrome game.
Yes.
This is not as rewarding as the Commodore version. There's something about the opponents that you can't actually fight them. Well, he has a hat. I mean, it is quite cool.
And he has a target on his chest, which is weird. I don't know why you would have that. I think it looks like they probably saved some RAM by duplicating some of the sprites and just put a different hat on him to differentiate him. Oh, we've got a headbutt in there, I reckon.
Could I? You know about that sort of thing, do you?
Yeah, I'm looking at the documentation right now. Maybe I should have looked at it earlier, I don't know.
Might have helped. Go on, that way. Oh, I don't know, I just can't... No, there we go. The
this would certainly be one of those
games... Hey, there we go.
This would certainly be one of those games 30 years ago where I would sit and watch the other person play.
Right.
Until it was like, should we play something else now? Because, I don't think I'd even necessarily play this 2-player. I don't remember. I don't think I ever played it 2-player.
So Richmond Mike has commented on the music. I think we're playing this on the 128K Spectrum mic, so this is using the AY chip for sounds.
No, I had it in 48K mode when I was playing it.
Well, I haven't. I've got it in... At least I don't believe I have.
The music was the same, so I'm pretty sure it's we're actually listening to the beeper music.
Okay.
Yeah, Mike's lamenting the lack of hardware sprite support in the Spectrum. Could have made it a completely different computer. But then, other machines did. I wonder if the Sam Coupe did that have hardware sprites? I know it had additional video modes that the Spectrum didn't. Hardware capabilities the Spectrum didn't. I don't know if it actually had hardware sprites.
I literally know nothing about that machine. Right. So it was interesting you said, you enjoy watching people. I mean, here we are, we're now using modern day technology to play games and have other people watch us play games on the internet. But, the original version of Twitch was, in fact, going around to your mate's house and playing games, at someone else's house and, take it in turns to play and watch. And we were at the arcade club. We've mentioned this a few times recently. We were at the arcade club recently, and we met a young woman there who was, who was expert at a number of arcade machines. One in particular was Joust, and she'd got a little shoulder cam as she was playing Joust, and she was going around the country to all of these different revisions of Joust cabinets to roll them over, and then she was uploading these videos to her YouTube channel. And so, not only were lots of people watching her in the arcade, we did for a spell, but then people watch her gameplay back on YouTube, and she was telling us about the differences in the arcade cabinet control, springs in the buttons and the joysticks, and how she has to adapt her gameplay style depending on, how tensioned the joysticks are and all that sort of thing. Oh, excuse me. Oh dear, I'm in a bad place.
Yes, McPhail is mentioning the Z80 instruction set is beautiful. I remember writing some Z80 assembler back in the day, and actually I found the tapes of some Z80 assembler and loaded them in. Just a couple of weeks ago, I actually bought a cassette deck, which I have right here. This cassette deck, this Sony cassette
Where
deck.
did you get that from? Do they? I'm amazed they even still sell such a thing.
I got it on eBay. It is a good one, though. It is a pretty decent one. It's a Sony TCM 939. I mean, most of the modern ones have the same mechanical tape if you ever watch a Tech Moan video, you'll learn that most tapes these days are all the same mechanism. But this one's quite good. And I chucked a tape in from 30 years ago, loaded it into Audacity, recorded it, and then played that back into an emulator, and it just worked. And it loaded in some machine code that I'd written 30 years ago. And
what did your Z80 assembler do?
It was a sprite routine, funnily enough. A sprite editor and a sprite routine. It had a little demo mode that would like move sprites around and sprite loads of sprites on the screen. But yeah, that was and there was a couple of built-in sprites in it as well. Anyway, we can talk about that another time.
I have played this game. I mean, there's gameplay here, but it's not the same game.
Yeah, it's... I don't know, it's difficult. I found them both equally, like, mind-bendingly frustrating. So I had, like, there would be 0 points for me for both of them. They're just so painfully annoying.
Okay,
But,
well,
I wouldn't play either.
Let's have a chat then. So, you barely played either of them. I mean, I usually ask you, did you have fun? But I know you didn't have fun this evening.
No, not at all. And it's interesting that we've got like lists and lists of games that we could potentially pick from.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, you like you said, you go around to a mate's house and you put a tape in, and hey, I've got this new game, let's play it. And generally, you would commit some time and effort to learning how to play the game and playing it well, and so on. Sorry, am I boring you?
No, I'm just preparing a new feature of the channel.
Oh my gosh! So I would say if I went round to a mate's house, I would probably invest a little bit more time in this game.
Right.
If I'd had to sit there through a 10-minute load, and he'd just paid £8 for it or whatever it cost at the time, I think I would probably invest a bit more time in it. But right now, it just irritates the piss out of me playing that game. So I'm just no. I mean, of all the Spectrum games there are and all the Commodore games there are, I wouldn't put those near the top of my list to go back to. There are plenty of others.
So, Mark Fixes Stuff says that Maria Whittaker lived near his nan. Bet that was exciting for you as a as an impressionable young man. Yeah, I imagine that you see this game came with a free poster. I had the game and the poster. I would imagine maybe you would have been spending more time reading the manual and looking at the poster than playing the game when this came round, if it's not your bag.
Yes.
Having enjoyed, I enjoy lots of fighting games. There's a few genres that I really enjoy, and there's some that I hate, and I know you're going to find those for me, through the course of this series. So I'm going to enjoy the ones I can. Barbarian was a standout game for me. It was, at the time, it was quite different because at that point all of the fighting games were either boxing or karate, and this was the first one that really introduced quite complex sword play, and that was new and different. And you think about the limitations of the machines. This was quite exciting stuff. So I thoroughly enjoyed this back in the day, and there's certainly gameplay there now. I mean, I think possibly a bit repetitive. We skipped side 2, Retro Gaming Denmark says. What do you mean? Oh, has the campaign mode. I thought we'd loaded the campaign mode. Maybe we missed that. Okay. We did try both on the Commodore. I could play that on the Spectrum. There's gameplay there on the Spectrum, but I prefer it on the Commodore. So there's something about the fighting mechanic on the Commodore that feels a little bit more like you're fighting an opponent. The Spectrum one, it feels like it's always just rolling into you and knocking you down. It feels like it just descends into you both rolling and doing low knee shots in order to just grind each other down.
But that's how I felt as a novice on the Commodore. So I think it's one of those things where, because the computers are different and probably the programmers are different and the algorithms are different for how they do it, chances are, once you get used to it, I would imagine you could second guess, what
Yeah.
the right move would be at the right point. And because you played it to death on the Commodore, you're probably used to it. I would imagine if you invested a few hours on the Spectrum version, you'd probably get used to it, and it would
My retinas would burn out the back of my skull before I get used to it, I think, is what would actually happen. And if I wanted to invest a few hours in this game, I would absolutely play it on the 64. But we're interested to know, what do you all think? So we've started a poll. You'll see that in the chat now. You can pull that down on the Twitch chat. Register your vote. We've got 3 minutes to vote. And I've just done that thing. So we'll let that run its course. Whoa. Okay, I didn't want to do that.
So we've got a couple of minutes to chat. We need to come up with a game for next time. I don't think we've decided what game it will be for next time. Things we're also thinking about doing is maybe figuring out if we could do 2-player games, because it's very limiting, recreating that experience from 30 years ago when you're only playing single-player games, whereas when you used to go to a mate's house, you would sit next to each other on the same keyboard, or maybe like lunatics have 2 joysticks, and play games against each other. I think we need to look at how we can recreate that, given that we're in different locations. So I know we've got options there, but that might be an interesting way for us to expand the portfolio of games that we could test out.
Yeah, totally. I'd definitely like to play some co-op games, and maybe some player versus player games as well. There were a few of those. A lot of those I hated, because my friends were much better at those sort of player versus player and strategy games than I was. Mostly because I don't generally like them, so I didn't buy them, and they had them. So when they chose to play those games, I just got absolutely murdered to death, every time. But maybe confronting another novice, it might be good. Yeah, sorry, Richmond, Mike, you can't vote on iOS. I think you can do /vote and the number of the option, or something like that, to register a vote just using the chat client. But yes, one of the limitations is Twitch says the vote doesn't work on iOS and Android and stuff.
Interesting. So we do need to come up with a game for next time.
Yes.
As always, we're keen to hear suggestions of what you think. In the Discord today, we do have a Discord. The link is down below. You'll find a discussion. We had one today where people were suggesting games that had good music, or just games that were really good. And we're always looking for more suggestions of games we can try out. If only to trigger the memories of games that we played when we were kids.
Right, yeah. And like you say, we had a really good discussion. I mean, you got loads of good suggestions from a few people in Discord earlier today. So there we go. The poll has ended. Sorry, Alan, but tonight the Commodore 64 takes it. So this poll was something that we introduced as a result of our last stream, where we asked for some feedback. So we are keen to, improve the channel and do things that everyone enjoys. So
interestingly, I see the vote and protests demanding a recount. So it looks like the Commodore got 7 votes.
Yeah.
And the Spectrum got 2 votes. Well, I was one of those votes. So actually the Spectrum got 1 vote, which thank you for those of you who represent the Spectrum.
Yes. Thank you to those of you that turned up to the stream. We do this every so often. We are looking for more suggestions. We've got game suggestions of our own that we want to play, we want to revisit, but we're really keen to discover some new games as well that we've not played. So keep those coming in. We'll probably be back in about a week, won't we? Because we're busy the coming weekdays. But we'll be back in a week. So next weekend we'll be back again to do this. So
and also,
give Alan some good ideas, so
to...
maybe he can win the next
yes. one. Also, feel free to clip that little bit out of that show where Martin played as demo mode, thinking he was awesome at this game. That would be really great. I would love that.
To be honest, I felt I did better when I was actually controlling the player.
Sweet.
Yeah.
All right. So, yeah, follow us in all the places. We're on Twitter, YouTube, and it really helps us if you click the subscribe and the little bell and all that nonsense. Thank you very much.
It really does. Yes. Thank you all very much for turning up, and we'll see you again soon.
Take care. Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye.